Russian soldiers targeted by drones. Russian soldier attacked by his own unit. Russian assault group stuck in quicksand. Multiple rocket launcher system destroyed by artillery fire. FPV drone strike destroyed vehicles. Kamikaze drone attack. Soldiers in ambush. Stay tuned for more. July 9th, 2025. 414th UAV Brigade. The birds of the Magyar FPV drone targeted a Russian soldier trying to cross the border fence in the direction of Pokrovsky. The Russian soldier did not even realize he was being watched. The Ukrainian FPV drone gets closer and closer to the Russian soldier trying to break free from the fence. Finally, the inevitable attack took place. The Ukrainian 11th Infantry Battalion of the 59th Assault Brigade landed precise drone drops on a moving Russian military vehicle. Surviving or wounded Russian soldiers jumped out of the vehicle one by one. July 9th, 2025. A fiber-optic drone belonging to the Ukrainian Signum Battalion dodged Russian anti-drone networks and flew under them, striking a Russian logistics vehicle. Russian troops opened mortar fire on their own soldiers in the Zaporizhia region. A Russian soldier was on his way to surrender to Ukraine's 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade. However, he was attacked by his own unit. Russian soldiers were trying to prevent him from surrendering. During this attempt, his own unit opened mortar fire on him. He was just walking with his hands raised. The Russian soldier, seriously wounded by mortar fire, failed to surrender. The wounded soldier lost his life. Infantry of the 126th Separate Coastal Defense Brigade of the Russian Navy on Kruglik Island near Kherson was intercepted by drones of the Azov troops. Russian forces trying to land with two boats faced bomb attacks by FPV drones. Alarmed by the drone attack, Russian soldiers tried to flee, but the bombs kept falling. The FPV drone was constantly in pursuit of the Russian soldiers. Eventually, the boat quickly ran aground. This was a big mistake, because the place where they ran aground was a swamp. Stranded in the swamp, the soldiers were attacked by a drone. While one assault boat managed to escape, the soldiers stuck in the swamp did not. On July 8, 2025, a Russian Buk M1 air defense system was detected in the Kurakov region. The Russian vehicle was seen by drones while changing position. The Russian military vehicle was tracked until it stopped in a fixed area. Ukraine's 15th Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade Black Forest and the 413th UAV Battalion Raid jointly carried out a critical artillery strike and destroyed the air defense system. The artillery shell is heading towards the target, and with one shot, the vehicle is destroyed. This entire offensive stems from the fact that Russian forces are helpless against the FPV drones that roam the front line for reconnaissance. A Russian BM-21 Grad multiple launch rocket system was detected by the 414th Taurus UAV Brigade north of the village of Andriivka in the Donetsk region as it prepared to open fire on Ukrainian positions. Ukrainian FPV drones immediately mobilized to intercept the attack. The FPV drone approached the Russian rocket system. The FPV drone finally hit the Russian rocket system. The vehicle with its ammunition was destroyed with a huge explosion. July 6, 2025. A Russian motorcycle assault group was spotted heading in the direction of Terny Lyman. When they spotted the drone from the Vidar unit of the 60th Mechanized Brigade of Ukraine, they got off their bikes and tried to hide in the trees. The kamikaze drone directly targeted the Russian soldiers and launched its attack. After the kamikaze attack, a bomb was dropped by an FPV drone. The motorcycles and everything else were destroyed. July 6, 2025. Ukrainian Marines disembarked from a PBV-302 armored personnel carrier trying to reach their positions. Along the way, Ukrainian infantrymen face FPV drone and artillery attacks from Russian forces. It is so difficult for Ukrainian infantrymen to reach the trenches that survival on this front requires luck. To stop the advance of Ukrainian troops, FPV drones are targeting them. A Russian soldier tries to evade an FPV kamikaze drone in open terrain. At first, he ducks and evades the first maneuver, but is caught in the second. July 9, 2025. Russian forces launched an attack with a mechanized column, a tank with a mine plow in front, followed by a BMP-2 and an MTLB full of assault troops. Ukrainian forces carried out a massive repulsion operation against the Russian attack group with FPV drones and artillery. First, an infantry carrier vehicle was hit by a drone. The vehicles were hit by fiber-optic FPV drones and artillery fire. However, thanks to the cage armor built around the outer perimeter of the Russian armored vehicles, the vehicles withstood the attacks. But the Ukrainian offensive continued in full force. The Russian attack group would advance rapidly in panic. They directly evacuated the infantry from the vehicle. Some of the Russian infantry managed to take up positions. With each troop evacuation, the FPV kamikaze attacks kept coming. Some Russian soldiers were targeted by the drone, but the priority for Ukrainian forces is to destroy armored vehicles. The drones were constantly in the air and the vehicles were hit repeatedly. However, thanks to the barrier armor built by the Russian forces, the vehicles were still able to withstand the attacks. At one point, the Russian convoy got stuck. One infantry carrier turned towards the woods while the other two vehicles entered the village of Novokonomichna to unload troops. When the hatch of the vehicle was opened to evacuate the soldiers, an FPV kamikaze entered and exploded. Several Russian soldiers who got out of the military vehicle were injured. The other armored vehicle, on its way to drop off soldiers in a forested area, was targeted by an FPV drone. The Russian armored vehicle hit by the drone eventually explodes. Ukrainian border guards destroyed 2 Russian MTLBs and a light vehicle on the southern front. When the vehicles outside the Russian trench were destroyed by FPV kamikaze drones, the Russian soldiers stationed in the trench had no vehicles to return to. Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade infiltrated a warehouse using fiber-optic FPV. The Russian tank T-72 was in the warehouse. It entered directly through the tank's entrance and destroyed the tank. The Ukrainian 63rd Mechanized Brigade Oleksivka conducted a drone operation targeting Russian infantry in the Sumy region. In just one day, more than 20 Russian soldiers lost their lives as a result of drone strikes. It is clear that Russian troops are having major problems on this part of the front. Ukraine's relentless FPV kamikaze drone attacks pose a major problem for Russian forces. Soldiers alone with drones in the open field have no choice but to try to shoot down the drone, but this is very difficult. The soldier trying to hide in the bushes cannot escape from the drone. Most of the time, Russian soldiers are usually alone or in pairs, and all of them become easy targets in open terrain. A soldier from the Red Hack Brigade managed to shoot down a Russian FPV drone flying directly toward his position with the first shot from his shotgun. In a high-impact precision strike, the Ukrainian 63rd Mechanized Brigade successfully destroyed 13 Russian artillery positions using FPV kamikaze drones. The operation, carried out with surgical accuracy, targeted active enemy artillery batteries that were threatening Ukrainian defensive lines. Real-time drone surveillance was used to identify the exact coordinates of the Russian positions, including howitzers, self-propelled guns, and rocket launchers. Once confirmed, FPV drones were launched in rapid succession, each loaded with high explosive payloads and piloted toward individual targets with pinpoint control. The results were devastating. Multiple artillery systems were completely destroyed with secondary explosions, indicating direct hits on ammunition caches. Russian crews were caught off guard, unable to relocate or defend in time. This strike not only neutralized immediate threats to Ukrainian troops, but also dealt a significant blow to Russian firepower and battlefield coordination in the area. The destruction of 13 Russian artillery positions by FPV kamikaze drones shows just how powerful modern UAV tactics have become. Through targeted drone strikes, counter-artillery operations, and real-time battlefield intelligence, Ukraine is silencing the guns that once dominated the front. In the east of the front, Ukrainian forces launched devastating attacks on Russian trenches using FPV drones. Many trenches were neutralized by Russian troops. Due to the summer season, military operations in both countries are increasing.